Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. And if this is your first time here, welcome. This is Essential Patience and I am Patience. In today's video, we are talking HBCUs. So I went to Howard University, but there are things about specifically HBCUs that I think if you want to attend, you should know. But this is exclusively my opinion and based on my experiences. So if you went to an HBCU, be sure to add more in the comments section. And if you're interested in going to an HBCU, let me know what's your idea of like going to an HBCU and what it's gonna be like. And did I burst any bubbles? But I hope I'm not. Instead, I'm just sharing information on my experience. And remember to like this video. Let's get into it. Here are my list of 10 things I think you should know before attending an HBCU. Number one is that you should be your authentic self. I think sometimes when we're going to college, especially if it's far away from home, I didn't go far away from home. I think sometimes even just being on campus, you try so hard to like reinvent yourself. I think that's the whole idea of going away to college, to like reinvent yourself and to like find yourself. Well, that's not just gonna happen immediately. You're not gonna land on the college campus and all of a sudden be a whole new person. Be sure to be authentic self. People have an idea of what like a black person should be, but remember, like, this is college. It's just a historically black university. Everybody on there is not gonna be a black person. All your professors are probably not gonna be black. Make sure that you're being your authentic self. Don't try to be like Wakanda warrior. Just be yourself and you'll find your people. Well, it's an HBCU, but it's a college at the end of the day. It's a college, it's a university, and it's an educational institution. And that leads us to number two, which is that you're not that special. And I know it sounds harsh. It sounds harsh because a lot of time if you were especially at the top of your class, oh, I'm special, and I'm not trying to kill that. But my point is that yes, you're authentic to yourself and be authentic, but there's always somebody who has a similar experience to you. So if you're a rich person, you'll find rich people at HBCUs. If you're poor, there are people who didn't, grew up with much as well. There are always people who are like top of their class, especially at an institution like Howard. A lot of the students I met were just like literally smart. Like, it's not like, oh, I went from the top of my class and it's just easy to like be at the top of my class in Howard. That's not how it worked. And there are a lot of people who can relate. So don't think you're just gonna be in your own special bubble because nobody understands who I am and I'm just special and nobody gets me. If you go with that attitude, yeah, you're gonna be by yourself, but it's just because people don't like your attitude. But there's always going to be some aspect about you that people are going to be relate and have a similar experience. Number three is that in college, don't try too hard, in my opinion, to be popular. And here's why. I think sometimes when you watch high school movies or college movies, there's this idea of popularity that I've personally not experienced. Like, I know there are people like who are popular, but I think if you try too hard, like, people can tell, especially depending on what major you're in. I think being in an engineering major, a lot of people were like very academically focused, didn't have too much time to be doing a lot of things to be popular. A lot of time when you see people who know each other, it's just because we're a much closer group, in my opinion, than other schools. But also, do you have time for that? Like, you're paying to be at this institution. You have school work to do. You're probably taking a lot of classes. You have to keep up your GPA. There are a lot more students as well. So my high school is considered bigger because there were over 2,000 students in there. But going to college, there are thousands more than there were in high school. So trying to be popular, in my opinion, is a waste of time. So if people are going to know you, of course, you could always be like a Miss University or Mr. University or just do something popular. But I think trying to be the whole movie level popularity is probably insane because like I didn't even know who some of these popular people were. I was like, oh, okay. But some people are not gonna care. But if you care about it, I would just say don't try too hard. Number four is to not be a follower. I like to say I like be a leader because I mean that's what people say all the time. But just don't be a follower. Like, you don't have to follow everybody that you meet. You're gonna meet so many people in different classes. It's not like high school where you're always gonna be around the exact same people, at least at the beginning of your school year. Once you get like into your upperclassmen classes and the classes within your major, it's probably going to be more niche. But especially at the beginning, you don't have to follow people like that. What? You're not going to see you. The campus is so big half the time that you're probably not going to come across them after that semester to like few semesters later, unless you're taking the exact same major and all the exact same classes at the exact same time with the exact same professor. That's a big chance. So I'll say, especially at the beginning, don't try to like follow people that you think, know more and like stuff. Always just like be open-minded. Find new friends if you need to. Don't get stuck in a bubble where you feel like, oh, I need to like be around these people for my entire 4 years here. There were different people I knew in different semesters, and there are people that I studied with. I always had like different study groups. You know, like a crowd, you just literally move. There's so many people on campus. Like I don't think people understand like how big the campus is, and like you find so many friends. My advice to you on that one, you know, don't try and follow people, especially if that's not like the type of behavior you like to engage in, because there are different people who come from different places with different backgrounds and engage in different things. Move on, find somebody else. There's always going to be a group of people who are just like you, pretty much. Number 5 is to not be overly competitive. And I don't say this in a way of like, oh, just be relaxed, be overly comfortable, don't do and try new things. No, you always want to challenge yourself, but I think the type of competition I'm talking about, at least that I think is not helpful, is in an attitude format. So you don't want to make college a competition, because a lot of time you're not even competing with the other students for grades. You're literally competing with yourself, because the professor is grading you, unless it's some form of grade deflation system, or there's like a percentage system, like only 20% of the students can get an A, 30% a B, whatever system your school has. I'll say most of the time, still know that your peers are not your direct competitors. You just have to treat them as a resource. So in case you don't know something in class, you can always ask them. You can use them as a resource for notes, maybe for some pointers. Even upperclassmen, you can use them as mentors, unofficial mentors, and just ask them for other resources that help them. But you don't want to go into this attitude of like, I'm here to succeed and just to compete with everybody, and I'm gonna be number one, and number one. It's a very off-putting behavior, and the HBCU environment especially has a level of closeness that I don't think a lot of other communities have. So when you come in there, you want to participate in that legacy and not just separate yourself. You're doing yourself a disservice. Know that a lot of people have come before you, and you are coming before the many generations to come. So make sure that, yes, you want to do well in college, but don't come with the attitude that you're better than everybody else and you was just trying to be number one, and whatever happens to your other classmates, you don't care. You want to make sure that you're also helping them just as much as they're helping you. Number 6 is to not expect to get handouts in your degree program. So by what I mean is that I think sometimes in this world that we live in the United States, some people look down on HBCUs. I don't know why they think that, because the programs are accredited. At least, you know, when you go to college, you want to ask to make sure it's accredited, but all over 100 HBCUs in the United States are accredited, and Howard University definitely has amazing programs. And I think sometimes when people go to HBCUs, I don't know if you're thinking it's going to be an easier curriculum, but again, it's accredited, it's a standard. So you're learning that different standard, and depending on which professor is teaching it, your resources as to them is probably going to be as in any other institution, because these are professors, and all of them, I said again, are Black. So take that with a grain of salt in how I'm trying to explain it, is that it's still a college, it's still a regular college, it's just being an HBCU. So don't expect anything more from it than you would have expected from a regular university. Of course, there are different aspects of it, and I think the involvement of the culture is there, and I definitely felt a community of it, but I think it's still not right to come in with the attitude of thinking it's going to be easier. You're still going to use the resources that are available to you. You're still going to have to study as hard. You're still going to have to pass those exams. You're still going to have to go and take every class and then graduate with your degree. So don't expect anything different than you would have expected in your degree field from any other PWI. Number 7 is to get to know the faculty, the advisors, professors, and just overall the people who make up the community in the HBCU environment. So in that, don't just go to college, go to the class, not go to office hours, not participate in different organizations, not participate in anything within your major. I think that's what really enhances the college experience, especially if you're going to an HBCU. You want that relationship, because at least at Howard, it was so easy for me to like walk into my professor's office during office hours and need help on the homework, and then they will walk me through. It was so much easier. I didn't have to go to a TA. I didn't have to go through somebody else, or even half the time I didn't even have to schedule an appointment. I just go in, knock, ask, hey, professor, and then they'll be like, come on in, and they help me. So you want to make sure you're getting to know the people. Also, get to know the department chair, get to know your dean, get to know all the people that are really influencing decisions in your school. So I think that's just one of those advantages that you have at an HBCU, that a lot of those people are approachable, and use that to your advantage. take advantage of those things and make sure that you are staying in the loop with them, because not only would it benefit you in the long run, but also different opportunities can come along that you can talk to them about, and they'll be like, hey, you know what, I know this, and they can be connections for you for a very long time. So get to know the people around you. Number 8 is that if you're going to go to an HBCU, no matter if you're black, white, whatever race or ethnicity you are, I really think it's important to believe in the HBCU vision. And I believe in the HBCU vision when I hear people say something like HBCUs should not exist because we don't have historically white universities. Yes, you do. All the schools that are not HBCUs that came before the 1950s were historically white universities, and they still exist. Nobody's trying to say demolish Harvard and Yale and Dartmouth because there were a point where they were not accepting black people. They are historically white universities, and all these other universities don't even take in a lot of black people, and HBCUs have been a pillar of just success for the black community, especially at a time when they weren't being accepted, and that legacy is still here. So the HBCU system has been a very accepting group of people towards everybody in the United States. So having this idea that HBCU should not exist anymore, it shows being uneducated and having an opinion when you have done zero research. But I'm just gonna say this: when I was at Howard, there were white people there were Asian people there were people of all different races there, and nobody was getting rejected because they weren't black. But I would say that if you're gonna go to an HBCU, make sure that you go there because you believe in the vision. Number 10 is that if you're going to an HBCU, don't expect to be, what's it called, degree wife, I think that's what's called, or just this concept about going to college to find a husband. I don't know. I think first of all, if you go in there, a lot of people there between the ages of 17 to 23. It's a lot. When I go in there, I was focusing 110% on my education and my education only. But if I wasn't, I would have been disappointed, because Howard University is a place where, and many HBCUs, I'm not just going to say Howard University, but a lot of HBCUs are predominantly women. HBCUs are really supported by a large majority black women. And Howard, for example, I think has almost 60% women, if not more. So if you're trying to go to college to get a husband, just know that maybe you want to find a different reason and maybe focus more on your education, because you don't want to be disappointed. And I'm not saying there are people who don't meet their spouses there. I'm sure there are many. There are many, 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 and I've heard of many Howard couples. Don't get me wrong. All I'm saying is that Howard husband aspect and that concept that was very predominant, say 50 years ago, is still standing, because now black women outnumber black men, not just at Howard, but at many HBCU, and most probably HBCU. So find a good reason that you want to go to an HBCU, and one of those reasons should be believing in the HBCU vision. But if you're going there to find a husband, I would say, well, good luck. And number 10 thing to know is that you are part of history. I think anybody who goes to an HBCU, you can feel the history that's just being made, and you can feel the history that has already been made, and it just motivates you to want to do better. At least for me, it just I just want to make sure that I make Howard proud, and I just want to make sure that I make myself proud and the history of HBCU proud. So if you go there, be a part of it, join the community, participate in it, and feel, I don't know, that feeling of just the support, the love. Howard was a real community in my opinion, and if I could do it all over again, I would still go to Howard. That's my opinion. Those are the 10 things that I think you should know if you're gonna go to an HBCU. I know it's a big decision for a lot of people of all different races. Even black people decide to go to an HBCU because they have historically been very underfunded, and even currently a lot of HBCUs are underfunded compared to PWIs, and that shows the structural racism that is still in this country and in this educational system. But overall, I think that if that's something that is important to you, it is still very doable. There are a lot of resources out there that can help you. And coming out of an HBCU, I have no regrets at all. I am very proud to be an HBCU graduate. But thank you so much for coming and watching this video. Leave in the comment section, what are your opinions about going to an HBCU? Did you go to an HBCU, or do you want to? Did I convince you to go to an HBCU? I hope so. Also, remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell also, because I post 2 videos a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. Come over because we are having great discussions on this channel. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.